guys. Okay, so I wanted to give you an update on the glucose monitoring, the continuous glucose monitoring device that I was wearing, other than the silly circle that I have here because I got a tan being out in the sun. It was a great experience and I learned a lot. So I want to share some of the findings with you. I even wrote notes so that I wouldn't forget. So, where you want your levels to be is between 80 and 140. That's where they kind of see where the ranges are at. And for the most part, for me, I was really below 80 or right at the borderline of 80 and just over 80. That's usually where I was at. I found in the times that I was more stressed out, it was a little higher, and so rightfully so. One of the things that, if you haven't followed me and you don't know what I'm doing, I haven't had carbs in a long time. So I've been grain free for over 7 years, and I took out my vegetables just over 320 days ago. And I'm an athlete, and I wanted to prove that you don't need carbs to be able to stay healthy, be healthy, and do extreme exercise. So I am doing this bike ride in Vermont that is 200 miles, and I wanted to make sure before I went out and did it that I could do that, my body could handle it, because we've been told that we need carbs and we need to carb load and we need to do all this to be an athlete and to do extreme sports. So I wanted to prove that theory wrong. And I know there are other people that have proven that theory wrong, but they were on keto, low carb kind of thing. I am no carb. So one of the things that I did find that I ran out of my LMNT, which is an electrolyte supplement that I take. It has nothing but potassium, magnesium, and sodium in it. And I ran out of that. And so I started using some Redmond's Real Salt and magnesium. And I'm not going to say what brand of magnesium I used, but when I did use it, it spiked my glucose levels above, well above. It was actually 169 is what it went to. And I hesitate to take that stuff anyway because of other crap, if you will, that's in it. And there was other stuff in it. And sure enough, lo and behold, it spiked my glucose levels through the roof. I wasn't quite concerned about that because it came right back down, but the fact that it's doing that is not good. You don't want those big spikes, those huge spikes like that. You want a nice even keel line. So I found that out. One thing that I did allow myself to try was some dark chocolate, and the dark chocolate that I have is like 95, 98%. Usually when I eat it, and it doesn't have very many ingredients in it. And I always make sure it starts with cacao beans, not liquor, not cacao liquor, not like chocolate powder or anything like that. It was cacao beans was the first thing. Coconut milk was another one, and then cacao powder. I think it only had like 4, and sea salt was another one. Didn't have any soy or anything like that. And when I ate that dark chocolate, my levels went up to 135. It was still within that range. It was still 80 to 140. So that was pretty cool that the dark chocolate didn't react like the magnesium did in my system. And that was because of all the other fillers that were in that magnesium powder. And so we have to be careful of our supplements. And a lot of people don't realize, that's why I'm a big believer in not taking supplements, those kind of supplements. I'm a big believer in that. And that's why I always say, let's take unflavored and stuff that has nothing else in it, just the supplement that you need. And this is the reason, and it just proved my point there too. Another couple findings that I found when I was exercising. So I did a mountain bike ride that was anywhere between 16 and 18 miles, pretty rigorous. It was 2,000 feet in elevation. We were out there for, I want to say it was 2.5 hours moving time, but I think we were out there for 3 hours in the heat. It was hot and humid. It was 80 degrees. I'm not sure what the humidity levels were. I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but my levels actually spiked to 169. Now I did this, I had only eaten breakfast, and breakfast for me is usually around 10 o'clock. I get up at 5, I ate around 10. That morning I had eggs and steak. I believe that was it that I had that morning, and didn't eat again until we sat down. I forced myself to have a piece of jerky, and that jerky, I want to say, was probably about 2 o'clock, maybe a little bit earlier. So I really didn't have much in between. Now, these trails are single trails, so they're pretty rigorous, like I said, and there's also humidity and it was hot. So it spiked to 169, which I thought was pretty interesting to see. And then it came right down. So when the NutriSense monitor that I was using, we have a coach that we can talk to, and I asked her, what level should I be concerned with when working out? And she said that they don't have enough data on that yet, but the fact that my levels came right back down was nothing to be alarmed about. So it did, it spiked and came right back down. So I wasn't worried about that. And it didn't get over 180 where they say, there is some cause for alarm there, but there's no studies to back that up. I didn't hit 180, so I was totally happy with that. I also did a run. It was also almost 85, hot, humid. I only did 2 miles. I did it really slow. It was with the family run. So we had my son and my stepson and my spouse. So we all went for a run, and it was only 2 miles, but it's not flat. It was hilly. It was single track. It was on a trail, and it spiked up to 165. So that same thing, it came right back down. So that was cool. One other thing I found that raised my level was when I sat in the sun, but I also found out that the sensor that I have doesn't like high heat. So, and when I sat in the sun, it was pretty hot that day. So that one, it spiked to 150. Some other things that I found when it did spike and when it didn't spike. So I normally stop eating about anywhere between 3 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon. There are some circumstances that happen in my life that pop up, that sometimes I eat at 7 o'clock or 7:30 when my spouse comes home from work. He gets home late. So I ended up having to do that a couple times, and when I did eat at 7 or 7:30, I found that I had more spikes when I was sleeping, and I also found that those correlated with the times that I woke up. So I would wake up a couple times throughout the night, and when I correlated that with, and I'd look at my watch to see what time it was, because I'm keeping track of all this data, and when I would look at my watch the next morning, when I would scan my glucose monitor, it actually was about the same times that I woke up as when my glucose spiked. What I did find that when I stopped eating between that 3 and 5 o'clock window, I had more of a sound sleep. I didn't wake up, and I didn't have major spikes. It was just your normal, it's supposed to do that at night. It was just like a normal little spike. So it wasn't a huge one like it was when I would eat at 7:30. The biggest one, and it was, I think the last day, 2 days before my glucose monitor ran out, because I only had it for 14 days. And I did a 94-mile bike ride on a hot, humid day. I also got 5,500 feet in elevation. So I got a lot of elevation. And I only ate, I did bacon, steak, and some eggs that morning is what I ate. And I grabbed some jerky, brought some jerky with me. I forced myself to eat at 80 miles. I wasn't hungry all day long. Forced myself to eat because I knew I did a lot of hard work. So at 80 miles, I ate 3 pieces of jerky, and then continued on my way to finish my 94-mile. What was really awesome is that I didn't get hungry for another 2 hours after I stopped riding. So that was pretty cool too. So just another side note that you don't have to always eat constantly. And then what I saw on that ride, which was kind of interesting comparing it to my mountain bike ride that I did, mine only spiked to 148, and that was a nice hot day, just like the mountain bike day was. And the mountain bike was 169. And I did more of elevation on this one. I did 3,500 more. And so it was just kind of interesting, the things that I observed. So I just wanted to share those with you, give you guys some food for thought, no pun intended there. And if someone out there that's interested in doing some kind of an extreme sport on just carnivore and needs some help, feel free to reach out. I'd be glad to give you some of information that I found out and what I learned. And doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, but it gives you some food for thought and maybe help you out and point you in the right direction. All right, guys, have a great day.